Yo, 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 what is good, Winning Shot family, man? I am so excited to get into this episode today. Listen, if you checked our last episode out, you know that we covered all things related to the Eastern Conference first round of the playoffs. This playoff has been amazing. We've had some exciting matchups and even some upsets. And some of those upsets we're going to be talking about today because today we're going to focus strictly on the Western Conference first round. I know that the Eastern Conference has started the second round, but we wanted to jump in and give y'all what y'all were waiting for with the Western Conference content. So we got a lot of exciting matchups. So I'm gonna get started with you, Hundo. Like, how are you feeling about the Western Conference as a whole in terms of the playoffs in this first round? Any surprises? Anything you want to talk about first?
Um, we got to talk about that Timberwolves series, of course. Ant-Man showing up. Timberwolves, a deep team. Lakers go down. Bron dropped off in the first round. No, people gonna be talking about that. Luka. So that was probably the most, I guess, surprising of the series. Out west, like the boys won 4-1, bro. Like they pretty much dominated, bro. Like it wasn't close, bro. Um, so we definitely gonna talk about that one. And then that Rockets and Warriors series, man, entertaining, entertaining,
Yeah,
and uh Clippers and Nuggets. Clippers
nah,
definitely
for real.
folded, in my opinion. They had a couple of games that they should have won, that they ended up losing. But yeah, we gonna it's gonna be an interesting offseason for a lot of these teams, man.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like in terms of conferences, this conference had the most interesting first round matchups and the interesting games. But before we get into like the interesting ones, let's go ahead and talk about the sweep. So the Thunders swept the Grizzlies 4-0. And I know you said at the beginning that you preferred this matchup because you had young talent versus young talent. And guess what? They ended with a sweep. And I feel like Taylor Jenkins was probably sitting with a beer in his basement watching this game because he was like, y'all thought y'all could win without me. Y'all thought this was going to propel y'all to the finals. Look, y'all just got swept. Now, obviously, Ja got hurt, but I don't think Ja being injured did anything related to them getting, bounced because he talking about, oh, I had them figured out. Ja was already 3-0. It was like, come on. There was nothing you could do to get back from 3-0. So tell me how you felt about this game, man, and what is your thoughts about the Thunder? We'll get into the Grizzlies later on about what their offseason looks like.
Yeah, like you said, man, coming into this, and like I said, like you mentioned just now, I preferred this matchup. Like seeing the Grizzlies versus the Thunder, man. I thought it was gonna be entertaining, and boy, game one they lost by a doggone 50. I said, well, it's not gonna be entertaining at all. I see how this is going. So
Exactly.
definitely not what I expected. I didn't expect them to get swept, man. I thought Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bain, Scottie Pippen Jr., Ja, I thought they was gonna put up a fight, and they laid down. They did not put up a
Yep.
fight. Them boys laid down, man. So shout out to the Thunder, man. The top team in the West. They definitely showed it in the first round. Like it's levels to this, bruh. So shout out to the Thunder, man. Shout out to the Thunder.
So I know there was a sweep, but was there anything in this series that concerned you about the Thunder moving forward?
Uh, I think, and you mentioned this in the last, and when we were talking about it coming into the first round, you wanted to see how they would look if SGA struggled, right? And we saw several players step up throughout that series. So they're pretty talented, pretty deep. Wiggins coming off the bench was big. Um, who else they had? Chet out there, of course. I'm blanking on buddy name, Jalen Williams out there as
Williams,
well.
yeah.
So them boys showed up, man. They're a deep, talented squad. I don't really have much concern about them moving forward. They pretty much answered that question of other people showing up outside of SGA. So I think that was the biggest question. So they answered that in the first round.
Yeah, I agree. I think this series, what it showed me more is that the other two can step up. And when I say that, it's like Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams. Because they're in the beginning, like Shea wasn't having these great games like he used to in the regular season. And so I think championship DNA is built when your best player is not having the best game. Can other people step up? There was one game in particular where Chet didn't have like many points in the first half, and then he went off for like 23 in the second half. And I think like if he can get going, that team gets real scary because now you have to consider Chet can also shoot the three and he can drive to the lane. He's going to be a mismatch on any four that you put against him. And the question is like Jalen Williams. Like Jalen Williams can get you a consistent 20. I think they can. If all of them can get you 20, I think they can beat anybody in the West. But the question is, will they step up in the biggest moments? And we'll see that next with Jokic and them boys. But I guess before we move on, like the Grizzlies, we talked briefly in a couple podcasts ago about just the direction they need to go. But it seemed like, man, those first couple games, those boys were lethargic. It was like they were just out there just to be out there. It felt like rec league. And the question I got for you. So we already made the move with Taylor Jenkins, and they announced today that their assistant coach is going to be taking over. So what do you do in the offseason? Do you run it back with the same squad? Do you continue to build around Ja? Do you make a drastic move to get over the hump next season?
I think they have a solid core for real. Like when you look at it across the board, you got Edie, you got Jaren Jackson Jr., you got Bane, you got Scottie Pippen Jr. who stepped up and emerged into a starting caliber player in this league. You got Ja, so you got the pieces. They pretty much already paid everybody, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Outside of
yeah.
Jaren
Outside,
Jackson.
yeah,
So I mean, they have solid pieces. I mean, the main thing really for them is health. Like the
mhm.
past couple of seasons has been up and down. Don't know who gonna play. Ja being suspended or hurt. So hopefully they can stay healthy. I would like to see them running back. But as we mentioned before, like that Taylor Jenkins firing might be the reason why they slipped up in the late part of the
Yeah,
season. So is this assistant coach that's taking over the right person to lead them? We gonna see. Only time will tell. So I think that's the bigger concern. I think they have some of the better pieces on their roster to compete in the Western Conference, but it's gonna come down to health and if that coach can lead them and direct them in the right direction.
yeah. No, I agree. I don't know when Ja's contract up is up, but I think for him and Jaren Jackson, there's going to be a lot of evaluation in this offseason to see if they give him a second contract because that's going to be way more. And like you said with Edie, I think Edie showed he showed some great performances this season where he's getting like 20 and 20, and it's like, okay, if he can be consistent on the offensive end, like I think his problem at Purdue is like he wasn't able to finish consistently on offensive end. I think he needs to dominate a little bit more. But if he can be that star, maybe not even like a star, maybe a fringe all star, where he can get you, some Jonas Valanciunas numbers or some Yusuf Nurkic, where they can rely on him. I would run it back, like you said. Like I think their core is there, and I think him emerging as a star gives you a threat on the inside that really opens up everything. And Desmond Bain can shoot. Jaren Jackson wants to shoot the three, and I think if Ja at least develops a decent jump shot, and they can run pick and roll, I think that will open the offense more. And it seemed like, from what I was reading, that the guy that they hired was an international guy, and they believe in more fluid offense. And I think Ja has to kind of, I won't say it's like the same situation, but kind of like Jalen Brunson, get the ball out of your hands, right? Function more within the offense and let your game flow like that. And I think they would be definitely a contender in the West. But if they get Ja dominant, I don't think they'll have enough to win, long
And,
term.
and I think they're kind of like, and you mentioned it just now, Jalen Brunson, but like even when you look at like the Knicks roster, right, and you look at the Grizzlies roster, like the starters are intact. You got to build that bench. So
Yeah,
finding the right pieces to come off the bench to contribute, that can fill those holes and fill those gaps for them is going to be big. Whether that's defensively, shooting, facilitating, rebounding, whatever role you're good at, bring that person in to help them fill that role of whatever the team
yeah,
needs. I think that's going to be big as well.
yeah. That's real. It's gonna be interesting, man. I think Grizzlies are one of those franchises where it's like, man, they have a ton of potential. They just can't ever put it together. Like you said, with the injuries, it's like, can we have one season where everybody's healthy so we can just evaluate and see what we got going on? But I think if
And
yeah,
and look at it like when they were healthy, they were the 2 seed in the West. So it's
yeah,
like that's pretty much the same team that the core of that team is still there. So it's like
Yeah,
get healthy, stay on the court. Let's see what we got.
yeah, I agree. All right, so let's move to the next series with the Nuggets and Clippers. So we saw, last night, I believe, no, 2 nights ago, um, Game 7, and it seemed like for the Nuggets, I mean, for the Clippers, they thought it was Game 1. Like it seemed like after the third quarter, it was over. Nuggets came out to play. Definitely, it's probably the best matchup in this series. Nuggets won 120 to 101 to win the series. How are you feeling about this series altogether, and any takeaways from it?
Yeah, this was very entertaining. Several
Yeah,
games went down to the wire. Um, that buzzer beating dunk by Aaron Gordon was tough.
yeah,
That was tough. Like I know the Clippers went in the locker room and they were sick. I know they were sick in the locker room. Um, but like I said earlier, man, like they had several games where they should have won. Like you look back at it, one possession games that they lost, and like you mentioned, Game 7, they came and got punched in the mouth. Like they were not ready at all. Like they didn't look
yeah,
ready. They looked like they wanted to be out there. Like it didn't look good. Game 7.
yeah. So let me ask you this: if it ended today, what's James Harden's legacy?
I think he's a top 5 shooting guard all time. I think he's a top 5 shooting guard all time. He's in that 3 to 5 range, or 4 to 5 maybe. Um, I mean, you look at it, Jordan, Kobe. You want to put D Wade at 3, cool. Harden 4 or 5 maybe. I
Yeah,
think
I
he's
can
a
see
top
that.
5 shooting guard. Um, I mean, his ability. I mean, he's basically redefined his career, bro. Like he has experienced all levels of the NBA, bro. Like from
Yeah,
6 man
yes,
coming off the bench to having his own team running the show to trying to be a part of a big three and it not working to becoming a point guard, essentially, bro. Like this man's a
yeah,
true point guard, bro. Like his last 2 stops, like he's shown that he could be a true point guard, bro. Like he can score and he can facilitate at a very high level.
yeah. But see, my thing is like, and we go back to the first episode. This was my fear with the Clippers. I knew if Kawhi didn't show up, then James Harden's gonna have to show up. If James Harden didn't show up, then Kawhi's gonna have to show up. And I feel game 2, I think it was maybe game 2 or game 3, when Kawhi was playing like he was top 3 in the world. Like that's the Kawhi I expect every game. And even in game
Mhm.
7, he came to play. He was out here communicating, trying to produce, being aggressive. And I was like, where's Harden? Like, and I knew this was gonna happen. If it wasn't game 6, it was gonna be game 7. And so the reason why I asked is because we've seen this Harden before at Houston. With low key, we haven't seen it in Brooklyn because I know that everybody was hurt, so we didn't get an accurate evaluation. But it's like in these crucial moments, it seems like James is out of it. And it pissed me off, honestly, seeing them boys down and Ty Lue pulling them. Because I'm like, y'all just sitting on in the third quarter, like, dang, I know the game's over for y'all, but it's like they didn't even look like they wanted to compete. They were sitting like they had another game, in 2 days, and they were just getting ready to pull the horses on. I'm like, this is game 7. That's crazy. No emotion. Everybody just watching the game like it was front row seats. I'm like, man, I just don't necessarily believe that James and Kawhi have the right personality to take this team over the hump. This is why I don't think you can run it bad. But if James picks up his player option, I don't know if you can move him. So and honestly, you can't even say that they were wrong for the PG trade or not signing PG to that deal, because now you look at it, it's like, all right, well, they didn't foresee him getting injured, but it's like, what do you do if you're the Clippers? Because there's not much hope coming back. Because Ben Simmons, like, you got to get rid of him. Chris Dunn wasn't a good fit with them. I think maybe you keep Bogdanovich, definitely keep Zubac, but you can't run it back as is and expect to be a championship contender, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think, and to your point, like what is the next steps for them? Because Kawhi's getting older. We saw him come back from injury, but he was balling when he came back from injury.
Right.
James Harden. If you're not a believer in James Harden in the big moments, cool. You got every right to do that. But it's like if you get rid of him, what are you hoping to get? Like if you trade him, what are you hoping to get? Because I doubt his trade value is that high to where you can get a significant star because he's old. He's an older player. Like you're just not going to get much of anything, in my opinion, for an
Yeah.
older veteran James Harden. So it's like you low key have to run it back, but you also have to find those pieces to fit around. So Zubac, he showed that he could play at a very high level throughout the season, throughout even matching up with Jokic this series. He held his own. Um, if Kawhi can stay healthy, maybe that puts them in a better situation seating wise, right? Maybe you don't have to play Denver in the first round. Maybe you are a little bit higher and you got a better matchup in the first round and you can get out the first round. And like I sent it to you, this is what their third or fourth straight year getting dropped off in the first round. So it's like
Yeah.
it's not. I don't think it's necessarily a James Harden not showing up. Maybe it's just the other pieces around him as well. Like we got to factor that into it as well. Is Ty Lue doing the best job coaching in these moments? Maybe not. I don't know. Like we got to look at him too.
Yeah. You're right, bro. I can't even argue with that one. I mean, the thing is, James Harden is just so dynamic player.
Hold on, brother, you cut out. But yeah, James Harden is dynamic, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, he's a great
Yeah.
facilitator. Go ahead. Yeah, you
He's
had
just
cut
so
out.
dynamic. It's like you don't want to get rid of him, and it's like because in the regular season he'll get you the production you need to get to the playoffs. And like you're right, I don't know what you'll get for James Harden now, but it's like if you're in a big game, he's not going to come to play. We've seen that countless time and time again. And then you pair him with Kawhi, who Kawhi is a question mark. We don't know what Kawhi we're getting in any game. So I just don't know. It's just like this is always as long as they keep this roster, this is always going to be the biggest question mark team of the NBA. It's like
So
okay, they could, yeah,
so that's my thing though. Like if we know, and I'm sure their front office and their coaches, or whether they want to say it or not, they know what Harden does in the postseason. We've all seen it. Everybody's talked about it, about how he doesn't show up in the big games. But in the same breath, it's a team sport. Norman Powell, what you gonna do in the big game? Bogdanovich, what you gonna do in the big game? Ben Simmons, can we get anything out of you? Like it's other pieces on that team that could have stepped up, that could have intensified the defense. Like I said, they came out game seven and got punched in the mouth. They let Denver jump on them early, get the crowd involved, get the momentum, and it was a wrap early.
is there a move that you think they can make in the offseason that would bolster their roster?
I
Like
definitely think.
what piece of it?
I mean, you would assume go get a wing piece. I mean, you lose PG, but I mean Norman Powell's he's okay, but I mean we need another star. He's no star, especially if you're
Bradley
gonna
Beal.
keep Harden. So it's like at this point, you just gotta keep the veteran squad and just make one last push for it at this point. This gonna be your last run. Go get another veteran, whether that's KD. I don't know what you have to give up to get KD now. But if you were able to get somebody like that can come in, you know what they can do, what KD can do in the playoffs. He's not gonna disappear like Harden. He's somebody who you can give the ball to at any moment and say go get a bucket. He's shown to become a better defender defensively in previous years. So I mean, shoot, go trade some bench pieces. Yeah, you probably ain't gonna have no bench, but hey, go try to make one last push at this thing. Go try to get a wing player that you know can get a bucket. And if Harden decides that he doesn't want to show up, all right, we got KD and Kawhi.
Yeah, but the problem with that though is I think that's the Phoenix model that I think a lot of teams are growing weary of because, like you said, there's nobody that you can clearly just say, unless you give up Zubac, but there's no player besides that you can say, okay, Phoenix, here you go for KD. I feel like the move probably would be for Bradley Beal because they want to get rid of him. But if you do a KD, you're going to have to give a ton of picks, maybe 2 or 3, and maybe some of your bench. And we've seen that model does not work with 3 stars that don't mesh well together in Phoenix. So it's like, do I risk my future on this team when the West is still loaded, or do I still sacrifice some of my future with a star and then have leverage in the future with still picks and young pieces?
Let's just look at the Clippers' history. Let's not forget they had SGA.
They did.
They already blew their future. What future? Like I said, bro, they're a team full of veterans at this point. Like I said, you make one last run next year, and then just blow it up. They're
Yeah,
an
but the
old
thing is,
team. What young pieces do they have? You can't name one young piece that they have.
nah, I can't. But the thing
Zubac,
is,
okay.
you make a run next year, and you don't. What if it crashes out? Now you have a bunch
Okay,
of
let it crash.
but you're gonna have if you sign KD, you're gonna have a bunch of old players and no picks. You're stuck.
Well, LA is attractive free agent market.
And knowing them, they're probably gonna sign KD to another contract and Kawhi, and it's like, I don't know. I knew this was gonna happen.
They got to find a way to get younger, man. They got to find a way to get younger. But my thing is it going to happen this year? I doubt it. I mean, you still got Kawhi under contract. You still got James under contract. So make one last push for it and go from there. And hope Kawhi stays healthy. Once again, health. Like I said, if Kawhi's healthy all season, especially the way he played when they returned, if they can get that Kawhi all season, they possibly could have been 2 or 3 seed for real.
Easily,
And that changes the matchups.
But I feel like we've been doing for the past 6, maybe 5 seasons. We've been doing that with Kawhi. Yes, we all agree. Game 2, like that was the Kawhi we all knew and loved. But that if is the biggest question mark. But what about this? What if you just sacrifice it and say, hey, we're gonna start over and talk to Houston, get some of their young pieces and trade Kawhi?
Who are you hoping to get though? When you say young pieces, who do you want? If you're giving up Kawhi, who do you want?
If I'm giving up Kawhi, but see that's the thing with him, his injury history. I don't know. If you could get Jabari Smith, Reed Shepard, and a pick, you wouldn't take it? Because you're not getting Tari Neeson. You're not getting Sengun. I know how you feel about Jalen Green.
I know how we feel about Jalen Green, but like Jalen Green low-key would be like the only person that I would probably.
So Jalen Green and Jabari, you wouldn't take it?
Is Harden going to?
No, it would still be Harden on the roster. You would be trading Kawhi. But now you have Harden who will give you plenty of regular season production, and you got young talent you can build around.
So you're fine with building around Jabari Smith, who lost his starting spot, and Jalen Green, who is overrated in some people's opinion.
I think that's the best that you can do in terms of the situation that you're in now, because the Houston Rockets want to win now, and I think that if they bolster their roster with Kawhi Leonard, in addition to all that talent, they're happy. And from the Clippers standpoint, yeah, you can say what you want, but Jalen Green had a couple of great games this season, and Jabari Smith, even if he was coming off the bench, I think he's still a starter. I just think with what they were trying to do, it made more sense to go Sengun and Steven Adams, and I think off the bench, Tyrone Eason just provided too much energy and defensive presence. And I think Jabari Smith was still a guy on the roster where it's like, all right, he can still give you a team at least 18.
All right, what what if we went out east though, and we went to go get somebody like a Nembhard or Benedict Mathurin from the Pacers
So my thing is with and for Kawhi or James.
for Kawhi possibly. I feel like those are better like building blocks for a
Uh,
team than
but
Jalen
it's like
Green
with me,
and
I, I personally wouldn't do it. I think Nimhard is a decent two alongside Tyrese, but I think he would thrive more in where he can have the ball in his hands. And see, the thing with Benedict is like he came off the bench for the Pacers, like even though he's a solid piece, but I'm still taking that Jabari Smith, Jalen Green. I think they have a little bit more upside than them.
mm, they get the Clippers definitely got to find a way to get younger though. I think that's gonna be. I don't know if they address that this offseason. I mean, they probably could. I don't know what their cap situation looks like this offseason, but if they're able to steal somebody that's maybe looking for a bigger role, um, that could be a home specifically like a three, a small
Yeah,
forward type player, right? Because you still have Harden and Powell in the backcourt, right? And then you got Big Zoo and Kawhi 5 and 4. So really, they got to fill that three hole. They can fill that small forward position, add some reliable bench pieces, and hope Kawhi stay healthy. Once again, health. Like we
once
need
again,
Kawhi to be healthy. He's a big
yeah,
part of this.
that's real. All right, let's keep going. I think we were waiting to talk about this series. The Luca Lakers, Luca and LeBron led Lakers lost to AE and the Timberwolves. I think you called this one right. You had Timberwolves.
I don't think I did. I
Okay,
don't think I did. I think
I
you
had
did because
okay,
you were
okay,
talking about how them boys ain't had no fear of Brian.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I think you had chosen.
yeah. I honestly thought this was going seven, but this went quicker than I thought. And like I told you, bro, AE does not fear no none of them legends. He does not care about the names. I feel like he wanted the Lakers. He wanted to prove something. And I was asleep on a lot of the rest of the Timberwolves roster, but like, man, like even this past game that Timberwolves knocked them off, man. If we could have had that his whole career, we would have had a different conversation about Rudy. And I mean, shout out to the Timberwolves because now that I'm seeing how they played against Luca. It'd be interesting to see game one of the Warriors, but they got a favorable path because if they can knock out the Warriors early, I think whoever wins at the top with the Thunder and Nuggets, I still think they match up well with both teams. Um, but before we kind of jump into the predictions, man, talk to me about that series and how you were feeling. We'll start with the Timberwolves, and then we'll kind of dive into the Luca Lakers.
Yeah, man. Like you said, AE a dog, man. Whether he want to be or not, he in that conversation for face of the league.
Yeah,
Um, he don't back down from nobody. He want all the smoke. He gonna play 110% when he out there, and his teammates gonna follow suit. Like I think having somebody like that on your team is just like inspiring, bro. Like you see this man going at it with legends, like you said. Like last year with KD, he going at him, not backing down. He going at it with Braun, not backing down. Like that's inspiring to see, bro. And he young. He young, bro. Like this team young. Like Jaden McDaniels, like 24. And he had some big games too. So shout out to Jaden McDaniels, not just on the defensive end, but showing he could also score too. Like
yeah,
he had some big game scoring. Shout out to Julius Randle as well, former Nick, showed up in the playoffs. He, like you said last episode, he's been playing good, playing defense. Rudy getting it done. Shout out to Nas Reed too, man. I don't know what his future looks like, but he need to be starting somewhere. I don't know if he's taking somebody role in Minnesota or he gonna look to move and go somewhere else in free agency, but that man needs to be starting somewhere. He's not no career six man. Like, let this man cook. Let this man get started minutes. let him go, let him free, and let him hoop because he's a high level
Yeah,
hooper.
yeah, no, I agree, bro. And I feel like honestly, like AE the natural like X factor of this game. I mean, of this series, but low key, man, Jaden McDaniels, what he showed in this whole series, like I feel like what we're talking about, Amen and Asar, the reason that they're going to get paid is because everybody's looking at what Jaden McDaniels is doing, like not even just this year, but what he's been doing in the past. And the way he was able to lock Luka up, it's like he's not only able to play elite defense, but he's now able to contribute offensively. And I think that this is really a scary roster. And I feel like, what we were talking about with the Grizzlies, this should show you why you should keep your coach because I feel like this is really about continuity. What they were able to do with Chris Finch. Obviously, they got disappointed last season, and I feel like a lot of people were saying, "Oh, they need to change coaches with Chris Finch," and it's like, no, I feel like everybody knows each other on that roster. They were comfortable with each other, and the Lakers, like we'll talk about later, there was a lot of instability because everybody's trying to feel each other out. They had some clear holes, but I feel like this team, this Timberwolves team, is put together well, and even adding DiVincenzo and Randall. I'm glad that they weren't trying to go star heavy this offseason. They got some solid players that can just contribute in games like this, where it's like, if there is foul trouble with Nas Reed, I can expect Julius Randle to pick up the slack, right? And they had a lot of pick up the slack guys on their roster, and I feel like that's the kind of team that I feel like can make it far because AE now doesn't have to go and get 40 points every game. That he can get, 22, 23 points a game and they can still be competitive. And I feel like for a lot of the later games in the series, they were just trying to keep it close with the Lakers. Because they said if we keep it close in the fourth, we can, jumpstart. Everybody's on it and we can make it, we can make a run late in the fourth quarter. And I feel like they're feeling a lot of teams out like that, where it's like they don't have to necessarily blow teams out in order to win. They can keep it close and then pull it out, at the end of the game. So, man, shout out to the Timberwolves, man. So next we go to the Lakers because everybody at the beginning of the season, was confused about what was going to go on with Luka. I mean, with LeBron and AD. Obviously, we know in the middle of the season they made that big trade for Luka, and everybody was blaming Nico. Everybody saying, Nico sucks. Nico needs to get fired. But a lot of the things that Nico was saying appeared to, be evident in this series alone. So tell me a little bit about, how you feel about the Lakers as a whole and just what this team currently put together. It seemed like a bad matchup, but did you see any more glaring holes outside of them needing rim protection?
Yeah, outside of the rim protection, man, just like we talked about all season, and like everybody's talked about all season, it's like outside of Luke and LeBron, who's gonna step up? Who's gonna step up and carry that load on the offensive end? So they definitely got to figure out the right pieces. I know that was a midseason trade getting Luca, but definitely you have to find the right pieces that fit around him, that complement him as a player, whether that's on the defensive end or the offensive end. Um, because like LeBron said, Luca's the future. Like that was a move for the future. So you have to build around Luca, um, get the right pieces. So find the shooters, find the wing defenders um, that can help them out outside of the rim protection. So that was probably the biggest thing. Um, and we saw LeBron go down in Game 5, but he getting up there. He might if he decides to come back. We don't know. Probably only got like a year, two, three, maybe left. We gotta see what that looks like, what that future looks like for the Lakers, building around Luca. So
So your common mantra about these old people need to go, does this apply to LeBron in this instance right here?
hey man, I ain't gonna disrespect Brian like that. Brian can leave whenever he want to leave, man. Hey Brian, I don't want no smoke with you, bro. I'm not Stephen A. I don't want no smoke with you, bro. We good. We good, Brian. Brian, whenever you ready. Hey, that door is right there, brother.
All right.
Bro,
Okay, so
he's still averaging 25, bro. Like, stop playing, bro. He 40, bro, averaging 25. We ain't never seen that before.
yes, but
Ain't no but. He averaging 25 at 40, bro.
Yes. Comma but. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't know if LeBron can be a max player as the number 2 and win a championship anymore. I'm not saying LeBron's not great. LeBron still shows greatness. All I'm saying is for the Lakers' aspirations of getting to an NBA Finals and winning the NBA Finals, we know that Luka is not going to play defense. LeBron, I don't know athletically if he's going to be the same at 40 and 41 that he was at 25 and 26. Naturally, that's just age. It's okay. But with him on the max contract, with Luka going to sign a max contract this offseason, I just don't know if it's feasible for them to go and build a roster around both of these guys when there's clear holes that I believe that you could consider moving off of looking and inquiring with LeBron and seeing if any team wants him and seeing if that would better fit them going into the
trade
offseason.
Bron. So you
I
saying
would,
they need
I
to
would,
trade Bron?
I wouldn't say trade. I would say I'll pick up the phone and I would consider it depending on the offer. Because my thing is, yeah, give him the last dance, give him the reunion tour, but the same problems that you had this season, it could even become more evident next season. We just expect LeBron to just be great next season, but it's like the way that Father Time works, it don't just like quietly creep up on you. Sometimes it can be just abrupt, and it's like, oh, okay, he's getting a little bit older, and I don't want that for Bron. I personally believe Bron is the GOAT, but when I look at this season, and we talked about the injury, how when he got injured, that team just was like, yeah, I don't know if they're gonna get far. And we just expected him to be just 25-year-old Brian, and that's not fair to him at 41. So I'm just saying, it's like I would just consider all options and say, hey guys, this is Luka's team. We've established that, but we know because of Luka's lack of defense that we need a little bit more to bolster our roster. That's all I'm saying.
All right, question. Because it sounds like two things that you said right there. You say you
Okay,
don't need to be on the max, and you said you would pick up the phone to entertain offers. Why not
I did
just
say
take a
that.
pay cut?
Yeah, if he's willing to do that, then fine. But I mean, I don't.
And
Brian don't deserve it.
to your point of picking up the phone, Bron ain't going anywhere. So
Absolutely, but I think the place.
whether you pick up the phone or not, the only other spot he probably going is probably Cleveland. He not going nowhere else, bro.
Would you? Would
So
you? Okay, so
you picking up the phone, you only calling a couple of teams because Bron ain't going just anywhere. You ain't sending Bron to Sacramento. You ain't sending Bron to Portland. Bron ain't going to Houston. Like I said, bro, if he decides to come back, he has one at most 3 years left. Probably not that. Bro, I said it earlier. Don't make that face. I said it earlier, bro. Don't make that face. Because you must have missed it when I said it earlier. Clearly, you must have missed it when I said it earlier.
it's crazy when you say it again, like 3.
I said at
Minimum,
most 3.
I know, but
He
I think
different,
at
bro.
most.
He different. He different. He different. We ain't seen nothing like him before. He different. He not just going anywhere though, bro. He not just going anywhere. So I think he
So
should
okay,
probably take a pay cut. I agree with you. He probably should take a pay cut. How much of a pay cut to actually bring in some help? How much is that? Like, how much is he losing out on? Because, like you said, they definitely have some holes on that roster. Like, they need help. Like, maybe the 3-star model is not it. Do you move Austin Reeves? Do you move
you have to.
Hachimura? Like, are you moving these role players to try to get either better role players? Like, I just feel like you have to build around Luka and Bron. Like, regardless of how many years Bron got left, like, unless you're just hoping he retire. But even if you retire, you still gotta have the right pieces around Luka. Is AR
I
is
get that.
AR the right piece around Luka? Is Hachimura the right piece around Luka? Outside of that, bro, like nobody on this roster is like standing out to me for real. Outside of Austin Reeves and Hachimura, it's like, bruh, everybody else is replaceable for real.
Well, I think if you want to make a significant move, Austin Reeves has to be the piece that you have to include. Reeves
Okay,
and pick.
but once again, what are you looking for? If you think Bron should retire or take a pay cut or move on, go somewhere else, and Reeves is a part of a deal, what pieces do you bring in to surround Luka with? Because at that point, you about to be sorry. You got Luka and bums essentially. So you banking on getting something good for Reeves. You banking on it. You banking on getting another star. Unless you're gonna have one star in Luka trying to do everything and hope the role players are good enough to play their role.
Okay,
That's my
I have.
thing. Like
I have.
like you literally have Luka and Bron, who are your two stars, who are your two leaders, the only ones averaging more than 20 points. And you want Bron to go off in the pasture and go ahead go home so it don't look bad on his legacy. Cool. Okay. Who replacing Bron? Who replacing
Nobody.
Bron production?
He's literally the greatest player like in the league. Like there's nobody.
Okay,
That's what. But
but if he's on the downward slope, who replacing his production? You banking on AR to come in and drop 20, 24, 25?
no.
Are you signing somebody? Are you going to get, I don't know, Bradley Beal or KD? Like, I feel like you have to pair another star with Luka. I don't
Okay,
think you're going to win with one star in Luka, and I don't know if Austin Reeves is that star.
hear me out.
So if Bron is gone, what are you bringing in? Go ahead, floor is yours.
Hear me out. Don't clip this up. Like I already see the eyes going.
Oh no, I'm clipping now.
But I can't. It's just I have a trade in my head. I just don't know how you would get it done because I would if you keep Braun, could you package up picks? I don't know their pick situation. Package up picks, a boatload of picks, connect and AR, and go after Embiid.
See, my only thing with that is, once again, like we talked about last episode, are you willing to go after a injured player? A
You
player
have
who you
to.
know has injury history.
You have to because you gotta hope. You gotta hope next season. We already know the narrative surrounding Embiid. It's no more Embiid versus Jokic. You know Philadelphia is ready to move off from him because another injury. So you gotta hope that he's willing to come to LA and just rebrand and just reframe his image. And we know Embiid at his height is still a dominant player. And he, I don't necessarily think this is the answer, but he gives you something down low where you can have a little bit of rim protection where the guards aren't necessarily worried about people beating them. They have Embiid behind them. And but anyway, I feel like that's the only move that we know that Daryl Morey wants to go small ball. We've seen it with Houston. And I feel like with him having Maxey as an emerging star, they probably bring PG back. You have AR, who is still going to get you 23, 24 a game. And then, like, say what you want about Connect, but people loved him at the beginning of the season, and you got picks. So I feel like for both sides, it's like, hey, Embiid, if you don't work out, this is probably your last stretch. And for everybody besides Luka, this is your last stretch. That's the only major trade I can see working. Otherwise, you still don't have enough with all the trades that's going in my mind.
And one thing that I will say about the Lakers too, like just like looking at that roster, right? You talked about Connect just now, but like, why didn't he play? Why didn't Vanderbilt play? Like it's several people on this roster. Jackson Hayes, they benched him. Like it's several people on this roster that could have played a little bit more, that probably could have helped out in some way, shape, or form. And JJ Redick decided to go in a different direction. So like,
Yeah.
JJ, what we doing, man? You can't just rely on Luca and Brian to put the cape on, bro. You got to use the pieces that you got.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even get, I don't know if it's this past game or the game before, but he put Maxi Kleber in before he put Jackson Hayes. And so I don't know if like we aren't in practice and we aren't in the locker room, so we don't know what's going on. But it seemed like he would have been a better fit. But my thing is, I know JJ probably hears the same thing we do. I just feel like with Jackson Hayes, there's probably something we don't know. And New Orleans moved on from him. It seems like the Lakers are going to move on from him because that would have been the ideal stretch. He seems like not the same player, but he seems like a lively type of player where he could have gone and done the pick and roll. He would have been a live threat. But if they didn't even trust that, I'm not even sure if he is, knows the X's and O's. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I'm not sure. I just feel like with next season, we don't understand that at the beginning before they traded AD was cooking. Like AD was not terrible this season, and with Luka, the same thing we talking about injury history with other players. We got to say the same thing, and we're just hoping like Brian can put on the cake one more time, and that's not fair to Brian.
Yeah. Yeah. He's getting up there in age. And like you
Yeah,
said, the health with Luca is definitely a concern. Definitely a concern. It's gonna be an interesting offseason for both of these LA teams, man. It could
yeah,
possibly look totally different, or it could very much well look the same.
yeah. And then from like you were saying, like
That boy Mike going through it, boy. Just unplug the mic at this point, boy.
but like for Luca, it's like in the case that Braun does retire or chooses to move on, let's say not even this season or next season, it's like what we've been trying to experiment. What is the best fit for Luka? It's like, do you build Dallas again? you know, it's like what is that going to look like moving forward? It's going to be an interesting question.
Do you think he
Um,
needs to change the way he plays?
yeah, he's got to because everything you said last pod with Jalen Brunson, you can say the same thing about Luka. I think Luka gives you a little bit more with his size, being able to get rebounds and get assists. But the problem is like Luka's injury history and his stamina. I just feel like he needs to get in shape, and I feel like the way that teams are going to continue to pick on him defensively, it creates a liability. You have to have 3-and-D guys, and you have to have bigs. There's no way around it, and I feel like if he chooses to get in shape and play defense, it makes the roster a little bit more flexible. So you don't have to invest in a bunch of bigs and a bunch of defensive guys because then you don't have any offense. So it's like it's just a heavy mix, but it starts with him and changing his not style of play, but changing his body so that he can better adapt to different situations. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be. I don't know, man. We've seen a big Harden succeed. We've seen somebody like Jokic, who's not the most athletic or the quickest, succeed. I feel like Luka can do it, bro. You can hide people on defense, bro. Like we've seen the Lakers utilize a zone. I don't think they used it much against the Timberwolves, but if all else fails, go zone. Zone teams up, force them to hit threes, and hopefully he can contest at a fast enough pace. If they are choosing to go at him like Minnesota did, I mean,
Yeah,
I think that's probably the biggest question mark. But I mean, shoot, you look at the Timberwolves, they've built around AE. You got Jaden McDaniels, 3-and-D type guy, a solid veteran point guard in Conley, who's not asked to do much of anything. You got Julius Randle. You got a defensive stopper in Gobert. Try to recreate that. Maybe that's a successful model that you can follow.
yeah.
Not
But
to
the only
say
thing with
that
that
Luca
though,
is AE,
man, we know, man.
but but from an offensive standpoint, just looking at it strictly offensively, like go get you a Jaden McDaniels type player that can knock down a three, and maybe this is my thinking. You got Jared Vanderbilt. That's your Jaden McDaniels type player. He didn't even play. You still had Braun. Bro, y'all supposed to compete, bro. Y'all lost in 5 games, bro.
So what's your grade for JJ Redick this season?
See, it was average. I think a lot of people had them in that 2 or 3 spot coming into the season. I mean, shoot, they got the 3 seed. Good job. But I mean, and granted, he probably didn't have anything to do with that AD trade. So I truly want to know, like, when stuff like that happens, like, coach, I need your honest opinion, bro. How do you feel? Because he wasn't expecting to come into the season coaching Luka. And he actually liked Luka, though. That's the thing. He's a fan of Luka. So if you're a fan of Luka, you know what he brings, you know what you're getting. Everybody know he's a defensive liability. If you don't have the pieces around him, and we know they tried to trade for Mark Williams, it didn't go through. So they were hoping to have some type of rim protection. So, I mean, if you're JJ Redick, shoot, go get a rim protector in the offseason and get the right pieces to fit around Luka and run it back. See how it is.
Yeah, so my thing is, I think they knew. I think he wanted Luka. I think Brian wanted Luka. I feel like the thing that messed them up was that Mark Williams trade going to the wayside. Because the thing is, like, I believe they were high on Mark Williams, which Mark Williams is a decent piece. But once that trade didn't go through, bringing Connect back into the locker room, I feel like that's part of the reason some of them didn't play. Because I just feel like they had a plan in their head. It went by the wayside. And I don't think that Connect nor Jackson Hayes merged back well. Because essentially you're saying that if Jackson Hayes would have still been on the roster with Mark Williams would have been starting over Jackson Hayes. That's what my assumption is. And I just feel like there was just too many dominoes that didn't fall that caused a lot of rifts in the locker room and created a lot of divide. That's my only speculation. Because my only thing is, like, Connect, before the trade, Connect was hooping. Yeah. I don't see why he didn't all of a sudden stop hooping. So there had to be some clear philosophical changes that went on that they didn't agree with. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting this offseason. Yeah.
And if they can integrate him back into the locker room and get him in good graces, if that is the case, he's a good 3-and-D type option.
Yeah,
like he can hoop. So it's gonna be interesting to see. I think AR is definitely gonna be a big question mark moving forward. I know they were probably hesitant on moving him before in previous seasons, but you probably gonna have to consider that.
Yeah,
you probably gonna have to consider that because what's his ceiling? Like, is he going to be a guy that can come in if Bron leaves or when Bron leaves? Can he be a guy that can be a second star? Can he be that second star type player? Because that's what they're going to need him to do if they plan on holding on to him. Clearly, you see something in him to say he could be a star in this league. So, do you consider moving him if he's not a number 2 type option?
It's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if Luka and Reeves is getting you a championship. And it's going to be a Reeves at a different price point because once they have to pay him, they're going to be paying him like he's a 1, right? Just because they want to keep him. So I don't know. That's a good question. Got a whole offseason talk about it. Let's talk about the last game that happened yesterday. So I was wrong. I'll go ahead and put that out there. I did have it going 7, but I thought the Rockets were going to pull through. I think the Rockets have a good team. Not great yet, but I think this was styles make fights, and this Warriors team is a very interesting team because of age. And I wanna talk about the Warriors first because I know we have some strong opinions with the Rockets. So talk to me about your thoughts about this series as a whole. And I want to focus strictly on the Warriors right now before we dive into the Rockets. How did you feel about how the Warriors performed throughout the series? And just moving forward, what do you think they can do?
I don't know why you thought the Rockets was gonna be able to get it done in Game 7. You got a veteran squad on the other side, bro. The vet showed up. Draymond, Jimmy, playoff Jimmy, Steph, Buddy Hill showed up last night. Buddy Hill
33.
had like 22 in the first half. I said, my goodness, let him cook. He was going crazy. But hey, man, shout out to the vets, man. The vets got it done. The vets got it done, man. Steph Curry, like I said, Jimmy Butler, playoff Jimmy. He showed up all series, man. He showed up all series, and it's hard to bet against that man, Steph Curry, in a Game 7 situation. They had showed, I think they had showed his son after Game 6. They talked about his son was sick. You know they wasn't losing Game 7, bruh. You know they wasn't losing Game 7, bruh. Steph wasn't going for that. And he didn't even have to go crazy for real last night.
Yeah, because
Shout out
nobody
to
expected Buddy Hill to get 33 points. Nobody expected it.
Hey, he was cooking
I
in that
mean,
first half, man. He couldn't miss.
yeah, and this is what everybody expects from Jimmy. Like, I know Miami's looking like, dang it, like this is playoff Jimmy. And fortunately for the Warriors, I think he was able to come back from that growing hip injury. I think well, and they're gonna provide some interesting matches for the Timberwolves. But also shout out Draymond, man, like because Sengun was still hooping, but I think he was able to tame that defense a lot. And Draymond sets the tone defensively, and I think the Warriors defense really looked good this series. I was not expecting them to rebound the way they did, even with Steven Adams and Sengun in. But they were able to rebound, get the ball out, and they just seemed to be real active on the defensive end. Some of that's to Jimmy's credit, but I think a lot of that is with the pace, even at this age, that Draymond still sets. And to see him go this long and be this good, it's really just a testament to like who he is as a player. So, like a lot of times we talk about the Hall of Fame performance and like him deserving to be the Hall of Fame because of that final stretch that they had, the Warriors and the Cavs and whatnot. But I actually look at series like this where it's like, man, they don't have Draymond. I don't know if necessarily that they're getting past the Rockets because the Rockets had energy, the Rockets had athleticism, but Draymond was able to match that, and he doesn't back down from anybody. I feel like he set the tone for everybody else defensively. So, and shout out to him and Steph. Bona fide Hall of Famer. Like this man is. This is why he is elite. Because he was double teamed most of the series, and even the game before the playoffs started, the Rockets played the Warriors, and not him and Ime were going at it because Ime thought he had it figured out. Going to blitz him early once he passes half court, force the ball out of his hands. But I feel like Steph, set the tone by also cutting, running, getting his shots, and keeping the defense guessing. And like we talked about with the Knicks series, it's like that's the kind of offense that works because Steph may never get the ball on a possession, but the defense has to worry about where is Steph. And by you thinking about that, you're missing out on your matchup. And so it's like that decoy that was being used, it speaks to his greatness, but it also speaks to Steve Kerr's plan. And even this last game when I was watching the highlights, him putting Kevon Looney in didn't necessarily stop the offensive rebounding production from the Houston Rockets, but it tamed it. It's like you had another big body out there that was experienced, and I think that the moment was too big for the Rockets. And like you said, I thought the energy and athleticism was going to get the Warriors. I mean, send the Warriors home. But that age, that veteran presence, and just their resiliency is why the Warriors, are the Warriors essentially.
And we'll talk about it with the Rockets, but from the Warriors' perspective, right? You slow the game down a little bit. Like you force Houston to play in the half court. You don't allow them to get out and run and transition and use that athleticism, like you said. So I think that was a big part of it as well, controlling the pace of play, trying not to allow Houston to get fast break opportunities, allowing them to, not necessarily turn the ball over, limit their turnovers, and keep them out of transition. I thought that was big. Like you mentioned with Draymond defensively, but even Jimmy defensively, right? Holding it down, trying to slow down Amin Thompson, who had a great series. But like I said, like the pace of play is going to play a factor in the playoffs. And moving forward for the Rockets, we gotta see how they adjust to that moving forward, right? Like they have to figure out a half court offense moving forward.
Yeah, let's go ahead and segue to that because for the Rockets, man, I thought they had enough energy that was going to surround Jalen Green. I thought Jalen Green was going to be the difference. I thought that he was going to at least give you 20 a night, and they were just going to have too much for the Warriors to keep up with. But we saw some games he had 5, he had 8 points, he had 7 points. It's like, all right, Jalen, when are you going to show up? And it seemed like he never did. I was listening to Teague and them boys this morning, and Teague was just talking about how Jalen Green looked scared throughout the series. And I think, in a way that he's right. And like you said, we were talking offline, how, but he can't shoot. And they wanted him to, shoot jump shots, and they try to bottle him up in the paint. And that caused a lot of problems for him. And so I think for stars in this league, you have to be more than one dimensional. If they take away option one, can you still dominate on option two? And I think for Jalen Green, he was so reliant on his athleticism that once that was shot, it seemed like he was just lost, like his entire game went away. And I think for Sengun, he is a decent piece, and I think Amin Thompson showed up this series. So in terms of moving forward, I think Ime and the rest of the leadership team have to make some tough decisions in regards to Jalen Green because you just paid him and Sengun, and now you look in the future. Like, do you go after a KD? Thinking about in the future, you're gonna have to pay a min, a max. It's like, what is the direction of the Rockets, and how do you think they fare throughout the series?
Yeah, like you said, it's going to be interesting moving forward. You mentioned KD, and that was a big conversation previous off seasons of if they should, continue to build around these young stars or go try to get a veteran in like a KD, right? So you got Van Vliet, veteran guard, alongside Jalen Green, and Van Vliet had a good series too. Like, let's not forget about him. He was out there hooping. He definitely
Yeah,
won a couple of games when Jalen Green was not showing up. Like Van Vliet was out there hooping, getting 20 plus a game. So shout out to Van Vliet. But like you said with Jalen Green, man, he has to get a consistent jump shot. That one game that he erupted where he had 38, he shot 8 of 18 from three. So I mean, it's there, but can you do it consistently? That's going to be the question moving forward. Can you be consistent when your team needs you? He averaged 21 in the regular season. He averaged 13 this series. He had 7, 9, 8, 11, 12, and 8 last night. So those are just, 6 of the 7 games right there outside of the 38-point game that he erupted in game 2. So he has to figure out a way to be more efficient offensively. And like you said, go to those second and third options, counter moves when he can't get to the basket. Because
yeah,
he's going to see a number of defenders similar to Jimmy Butler, similar to Draymond throughout the rest of his career. So he has to figure out a way to get buckets. And like you said, like Curry, move without the ball. He has to be a factor without the ball in his hands, whether, like you said, cutting to the basket or even being a decoy. But I think him
yeah.
getting that jump shot is going to be, the basis of him getting better as he moves forward.
So Sengun is the player that you build around moving forward,
I guess
or is it a
so.
man?
I guess so. And you got to think too. Like at one point, it was they had Kevin Porter Jr. on the roster with Jalen
Yeah,
Green. Don't forget about that.
yeah,
Don't forget
that's
about
true.
that. So I think like we talked about with Amin Thompson, like just getting it done on the defensive end, his athleticism, translating the offense. And we talked about it offline. Like he doesn't necessarily have an offensive bag, but like he was still getting 15 plus points. Amin Thompson. So once he truly gets a bag, if he can develop either somewhat of a jump shot or like some type of moves without the ball, it's gonna be scary. And unlike Jalen Green, the man plays defense at a very high level.
He and guards the
So
best
he's gonna
player.
always stay on the court. And Sengun is baby Jokic. Sengun is baby Jokic. He do everything, bro. He can rebound, he can facilitate, and he can score. And we saw it took Draymond Green's best effort to try to slow him down. Like that shows the caliber of player he is offensively. So Sengun is the
Yeah,
truth.
Yeah, and I feel like you said, Van Fleet and even Dylan Brooks were the right veterans for this team. It really this really showed it all came down to Jalen Green. Jalen Green gives you 18 more points tonight. I don't think this is close. I personally don't. And I think that's what everybody was banking on. And he even said that he played terrible. And for Jalen Green at this point, like he's 22, so he still has a long runway in the league to go. But for Houston, being the number 2 seed in the West and losing to the number 7 seed, even though that was Golden State, that was disappointing. And I feel like they had championship aspirations. And the question now is like, do you just wait for Jalen Green to, take the leap, or do you just make the move and include him in trades now? So, yeah,
And and like you said, like he's still young, like 22. So I won't write him off just yet. Like you said, he averaged 21 in the regular season. So it's like he's like we talked about offline. He's no bum.
yeah,
He's no bum. So I mean, I don't think it's fair to write him off of one bad series. And we've seen multiple players bounce back from a bad series before. So I wouldn't write him off necessarily yet. But like I said, there is room for improvement in him getting a jump shot. Like I definitely think he needs to this offseason get with a trainer, whoever he wants to work with, get that jump shot. You
yeah,
got to drill, shooting threes, different catch and shoot, off the dribble, step back, whatever it's gonna be. Get in the gym, rep it out, however many reps you need to do to be locked in and be confident enough to take those shots and hit those shots when your team needs it.
yeah. Would you rather be a
And
GM right now? Okay, go ahead.
and like you said, like you talked about like the championship aspirations for this team, right? Like me personally, I wasn't sold on them boys going into the postseason, and especially having the
Yeah,
matchup with Golden State in the first round. You can't bet against Steph. So I think it was a good learning experience for them. Um, they could low key run it back with this same roster, and like you said, if Jalen Green is the difference, if he shows up, they win this series. We're having a different conversation. I think this experience for all of them, not just Jalen Green, but Sengun, Van Fleet, Tari Eason, all of them boys, even Ime to an extent, it's gonna help them for next season. They gonna know
yeah,
exactly what they need to do, who they need to perform. They gonna come back. They gonna come back ready. I wouldn't be surprised.
yeah. Somebody brought this up today, but if you were a GM, would you rather be a GM of the Rockets right now or the Pistons?
I think it depends on like what you. I feel like there's a lot more question marks with the Rockets than it is the Pistons, and we just talked about it. They're the 2 seed, but they do have those vets. So it's like, do you keep Van Vliet on the roster? Do you keep Dylan Brooks on the roster? Do you go after a star and trade Jalen Green? Or do you like I just mentioned, run it back with the same roster and hope that the experience that you had this year helps you and propels you to where you want to be in the postseason next year? I think for the Pistons, they have a very good young core, similar type questions, right? Not necessarily the vets, but I think they have one position that's up for grabs. Replace Tobias Harris. You can get an upgrade with Tobias Harris. You good to go. So
Yeah,
to answer that question, I would probably say the Pistons. Um,
yeah,
Once again, also too, you got to think about the expectations. Houston was the 2 seed just now, so they're expecting, if not to be the 2 seed again, get that 1 seed. Expectations a little bit higher in Houston versus the Pistons, who were trash last year, had a 30-win turnaround this year. If you can make the playoffs again, cool.
yeah. No, that's real. You're going to be celebrated just for making playoffs.
Yeah.
And I think because at the beginning of the season, everybody was saying Cade or Jalen, but I don't think that's a question anymore. I think Cade has solidified himself as a star in this league. And I agree. I would take the Pistons too because you know what you got at least with Cade. Now I know I can build around Cade. I feel like even with Sengun, Sengun can do it all. And I think you mentioned in the podcast earlier, is like it's easier to build around guards.
Mhm.
And I just feel like for what the Pistons are trying to do, like Cade develops a jump shot, a lot of your answers can be like quickly solidified.
Mhm.
But I just feel like I can't unsee. No matter where Jalen Green goes after this, I can't unsee the series. I can't unsee it, and it's like I need somebody who I know can at least get me 20. And I just feel like with the Rockets, there's a lot of pieces, but there's also a lot of questions around those pieces. Does Amin Thompson develop an offensive game this season? Does Tyree Eason develop offensive game? Because I think he provides a lot of energy defensively, but it's like, can I get that same production offensively? Jabari Smith, what do you do with him? Is he a tweener? Do you play him at the three? Do you continue to get him off the bench at the four? And for Steven Adams, can you give me another year? And will he have that same kind of production this year? Or do you need to just sit him out so he can have production in the offseason? I mean, the postseason. And then the Van Fleet question. We talked offline. It's like I know they stashed Reed Shepard away in the G League, but Reed Shepard was a contributor like in college. Like he was a dog. And so you like you said, Van Fleet's not coming off the bench, but I think with Van Fleet, the question is there were times where he was very streaky as a shooter, and you're hoping that in their offensive production that they can get some. If Jalen Green doesn't give you it, can Van Fleet give you it? And I just feel like with their roster, my biggest question is: do you keep him around for the veteran presence, or do you bring Reed Shepard in and put everybody at the same timeline in terms of age? So I don't know. That's it's a lot of questions you got to answer in the offseason. And because you're going to have to start making decisions, you're going to have to see every option in the next couple of seasons because once it gets time to pay people, you're going to have to pay everybody. And there's about two players on that roster where it's like, okay, do you give them a max or not? Right? I'm thinking of Amin. Like I think Sengun has already gotten paid. Jalen's already gotten paid. But the question is going to be with your Jabari, with your Tyrese. They're going to probably get paid somewhere else. And do you match their contracts, right? So it's a bunch of questions, man. So I don't know.
And you talked about the veteran presence just now with Van Vliet and, of course, Dylan Brooks as well, but more so with Van Vliet, right? And you mentioned Reed Shepard. So, like, if you are the Rockets, why not have Reed Shepard up with the team? Maybe, like, do you not believe in Reed Shepard? Like, why is he not being mentored by a Van Fleet or getting the opportunity to play in some of these moments if you if you plan on moving on from Van Fleet? Like, you already got a young guard here, bring him up, let him learn the ropes, get that experience, give him some more minutes. We saw it
Yeah.
with in a situation once again with the Timberwolves. You got Nikhil Alexander Walker there, learning from Conley. I'm sure he probably wants to start, but even though you're not starting, we're gonna play you. You're gonna be a significant role player for us. We're gonna get you this experience. So it's like, why not put him in a situation like that and see what he can do?
Yeah. And my only guess at that is, Adoka wants veteran leadership, and you had to plug and play where you're going to insert those veterans in. And we know from the Celtics, like Ime Adoka, he comes from a defensive culture. He wants defense. And even from college, that Reed's defense was the best, but I think he provided so much offensively and facilitated well that you were willing to deal with the lack of defense and even him as liability. So I don't know if necessarily he wanted to make thinking about the guards in the West. I don't know if he trusted Reed to lead a team, especially defensively. And I don't think Van Fleet is ever a liability on the defensive end. So it's like with what he's trying to do, I don't know. That's my only guess is that defensively, Reed didn't provide the same production as Van Fleet.
Whatever happened to Cam Whitmore? But he's
Oh
still
yeah,
here on the
that's
Rockets, right?
let me look it up. That's the name I forgot about.
Like, bro, don't show some flashes, bro. Like, he just
Yeah,
don't
he's
play no
still there.
more. Like,
He's still there. But I mean, like Boston, I mean, once Ime has the roster in his mind, he doesn't really stray from it.
Mm.
Yeah, he's still there. He averaged 8 this season.
Interesting.
I don't know. I mean, you
Yeah,
got,
they gonna
and you see, I
they
mean,
gonna
like,
keep it. Go
okay.
ahead.
I mean, like, even some names like Jashawn Tate, well, not Aaron Holiday, but like, they still got Cam Whitmore, Reed Shepard. Like, their roster is solid. Like, I didn't know Jeff Green was still playing. I did not know that.
Hang it up, old man.
Yeah, yeah, they the Celeras. But I
Yeah,
don't know.
so it's gonna be interesting off season once again for the Rockets because they are low key a free agent destination. Free agents don't mind going there.
No state tax.
What'd you say?
I say no state tax. You're right.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. And then, like you said, they have veterans on the roster that they could possibly either move on from or run it back again. Like, and just hope Jalen Green does more in the playoffs. So we're gonna see, man. It's gonna be an interesting offseason for them boys.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, but
But
is there anything like any other surprises in the Western Conference that you want to talk about, or anything that surprised you?
um, not really. I think looking forward at these next couple of matchups, like you said, Timberwolves versus Warriors. That's gonna be a good one. Jaden McDaniels probably gonna be guarding Steph. It's gonna be interesting to see if I assume Jimmy Butler will probably be guarding Ant-Man. So that'll be an entertaining matchup if
Yeah,
those two are paired up against each other. Um, but it's gonna come down again. Hey, hold up. Yo, we got Rudy versus Draymond.
yep.
Yo, we got Rudy versus Draymond. Somebody get ejected.
Man, Rudy already scared. I can tell it right now. But
Forgot
Loki, this
about
is a series he can dominate. He can have a 27-24 game again with this roster with the Warriors. He's
yeah,
got to come to play.
yeah, yeah.
But
They
I feel
don't
like
got
Draymond intimidated a lot of people.
yeah. They don't got nobody to check them. And it's gonna be interesting to see how that series plays out, man. The Timberwolves can make it to the Western Conference Finals again,
Yeah. And I
or will the
mean,
Vets prevail again in another series?
it's gonna come down to tomorrow in game one. Because my only problem with with the Timberwolves is like there were moments in the Lakers series where I thought this should have been a 12-point game. And the Timberwolves just sticking around, the Lakers is just sticking around, and it's like, man, y'all going on running, but they only down 6. And my thing with Steph is like Steph kind of like we saw fragments of Steph this series, but it's like we ain't seen Steph go off like 51
Mhm.
Steph, 42 Steph, and I don't know if that stay close strategy is going to work with the Warriors who really thrive off of momentum.
Mhm.
So I could
Yeah.
see this being a very lopsided series where there are blowouts on both sides during the series.
Do you think the Nuggets have a chance versus the Thunder?
Yeah, I got the Nuggets. Well, I guess we're going here, but I got the Nuggets over the Thunder personally. I think this is going to
I
show
don't
the
know,
series
man.
like
It was something about the Nuggets. Like I said, man, the Clippers lost a lot of them games. A couple of them games, the Clippers lost. Like it wasn't nothing necessarily that the Nuggets did to win them games. Clippers lost them games. They're here now. We move on. I got to see something from Jamal Murray, MPJ, Aaron Gordon. I know what Jokic gonna give me. All them other guys gonna step up. And
and
and who checking SGA?
I mean, but I think it depends on strategy. It's like do you just let SGA get his? And like I said with the Grizzlies series, can Chet, Jalen Williams step up? Because there's situations where he can get 40 and then it still be close. And this is the other thing. I will say this, and I got to give flowers where credit is due. I think the engine behind that team, this Nuggets team, is Russ. Like
That I was just about to mention that. I was just
this
about to
man
mention.
Russ, he goes 110% every game, and I feel
Yeah,
like they could have easily just packed it in when Mike Malone got fired and the GM got fired. But I feel like Russ giving everything he got propelled everybody else to want to give everything they got. And that there was this play I texted you about it when he dunked the ball and hung on the rim just so he could get a tech, so he could tell the Clippers to get off the court. Like that kind of energy is what gets people past series like this. Because look at the personality of Russ, and then they showed a image of James Harden and Kawhi on the bench just chilling. Man, they need that dog, and I think that Russ provides that. And I think that's going to really help them get through in this series. Personally, I don't think it's going to be like a sweep, but I think it's going to be a dogfight. And Russ is built for moments like this.
yeah, yeah. I mean, me personally, like I said, man, I wanted the Nuggets to go home. They did Mike Malone dirty, man. Clippers should have packed them boys up, man. They didn't get the job done. But I'm with you, man. I definitely think the Nuggets have a chance to win this series. Like I said about the Rockets, man, I didn't necessarily have the Thunder either as a championship type team. I mean, great regular season, great regular season, but I got to see how they are in the playoffs, especially against a championship caliber team like the Nuggets.
Yeah.
They got that championship pedigree, man. They know what it takes to win. Regardless of Mike Malone being done dirty, the players are still there, still playing at a high level. So we gonna see, man. I think it'll go 6 or 7 games. But I think I'm gonna lean towards Jokic and the Nuggets, man. Two MVP front runners, too, going at it.
Yeah. All right. I see. All right, man. So we got a lot more content to do, but we're gonna stop it here, man. We gave y'all what y'all asked for. Got the Western Conference first round covered, so we're gonna go round by round. Some of the games and the Eastern Conference has already started. I think Boston is getting ready to play, probably playing right now. So we'll
Yeah,
continue to give you that
33
content
right now.
daily, so that you can get the second round all the way to the NBA Finals. If you like the content, man, continue to tap in, man. Put comments in the chat. Put comments. We're on every social media that you can find, and let us know what you think. If you think we bogus, put we bogus, man. Give us your takes, man. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Find somebody who doesn't know about Win and Shot and share this content with them, because we cover more than just basketball. We cover football and even the college sports. So we're basically on year round. I'm pretty sure Hundo and John are getting ready to start the WNBA content. So we got a bunch of new content coming at you live. So I appreciate you once again for tapping in for this long. And as we continue to go through the NBA Finals, to all the way to the NBA Finals, man, you'll get content daily from us. So appreciate the love, man. Peace.
Peace.